to be honest, don't really know what I'm doing.
He was often a player that I would buy on Football Manager.
It's already a terrible reason.
From Jon Snow, Matt puts Dan's wardrobe to shame.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Look at him, the cat that got the cream.
Ian Taylor said it was the worst thing he'd ever seen in his life. Monk, really, I know he's manager. What kind of say is that?
Gary Monk, 5 out of 10.
I haven't finished yet. I cannot believe Gabby had Bondahorse.
That's crazy,
That's
isn't
terrible.
it?
Yeah, we may well have lost listeners early doors again with a long-winded intro. Go, shoot. Hello, welcome to the Villa View podcast with myself, Dan Bardell, and Thomas Julian, my regular podcast buddy. How you doing, Tom?
Not too bad. I always feel a little bit awkward when we start.
I do as well.
I start there
As you
just
can tell.
smiling like this.
I never know what's going to come out of my mouth either when I introduce you.
No.
I sometimes introduce myself first, sometimes second.
Make me
well.
first.
I never. Yeah,
It's a complex thing, isn't it?
No. I usually do it the correct way is to do you first, isn't it? But today I did it wrong.
Oh.
But let's not dwell. I'm sure there'll be plenty of other things that'll go wrong throughout the podcast. We've already had one disaster before we've even started.
Yeah, well, I was early.
Yep, Tom, in the first time in podcast history, was half an hour early while I was eating my dinner.
Maybe even more.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting him to be that early. And then unfortunately I left the camera gear in the car, which my wife decided to take home from work without checking, even though she knew it was there. And so she had to come back and drop the camera equipment. So we've been delayed because of me today. But nice for Tom to be early. Makes a change.
Well, I accept your lukewarm apology there.
It was lukewarm.
Dan, but we're not the only ones where things have gone wrong this week, are we, really?
No, it's not been a great week. I'm not too downbeat, though. I'm not too downbeat.
No?
Nah, not really. I'd rather Cardiff hadn't have won last night, but...
Yeah, well, we'll get onto that as well, but none of the results... Well, I mean...
The other results were good.
The other results were good, you're right, and that I mean, we've talked about this off-air, that kind of annoyed me more. It felt like we lost ground there.
Yeah.
But...
I took it the other way.
You did.
So you have... Thank God the results were like that, and we're not even further in the mire. Not the mire. The mire is the wrong word, isn't it? But down.
Yeah, and I think it's actually happened in previous weeks. I mean, this is football for one, but it has happened where we've taken advantage of other teams losing and us getting a draw or whatever when we weren't playing particularly well earlier on in the season as well. So, we'll get into the other results in a little bit, but let's start where we left off last week. We were looking forward to the Fulham game.
We were.
Both of us were a little bit nervous, and it proved to be right nerves in the end.
Yeah, I mean, we won't go into too much detail on the Fulham game as we already did a video afterwards to tide us over until the podcast. The other reason is I had a fair few shandies that day.
Did you?
My recollection of the game is not brilliant, but I've got enough. I've got enough in my locker to talk about it. I think it just when I saw the team, I probably half expected it. Pretty much knew that Grealish and Adoma weren't gonna feature today. Last weekend or Tuesday, so that was no surprise to me. I wasn't sure what Bruce would do tactically. It's fair to say the team selection didn't really work in the first half against Fulham, although saying that it was 0-0 at half time. But you've already got two of your best players missing. So then one of your other best players, Snodgrass, you've then moved him to the left to move Al Mohammadi forward into the right, and you're putting Snodgrass to the left. He's not the same player as he is on the right, so it's kind of like being without three of your best players, if that makes sense. So that wouldn't have been what I would have done, but we were more than in the game in the first half, and it's that old killer of second half kicks off and you concede straight away, and in the type of game it was, we weren't making many chances. So at that point, I pretty much felt the game was over, even at 1-0, and then Sam Johnston's made a horrendous error, the first error of the season from him after having a great season so far. Very uncharacteristic, because despite what people say, his distribution's pretty good, I think. I'm not saying it's the best in the league or anything like that, but I think it's more than adequate. Some of the stuff I've seen about his distribution since is completely off, in my opinion. It's just one of them. I thought it was quite alarming that it went straight to the Fulham goal, but there was no one was anywhere near him. No one got anywhere near him. Like he said at the time, it felt like he had about 10 years to pull the ball down and just knock it into the net. I mean, it's a good finish.
It is a good finish,
obviously. But yeah, it's a disaster. But as I said in the Fulham review, I never felt like we were going to get back into that game at 1-0, so I'd rather he made the error when it's kind of not going to cost us.
I mean, that's a positive way to look at it. Let's go back.
Positive guy.
Yeah, go back to the Sessegnon goal for a second. He was one of the guys that we picked out. And, I mean, you don't get any points for that because everybody's talking about how good...
You do get points on fan score if you put in first goal scorer like I did.
Okay.
But I don't take much enjoyment from getting a opposition goal scorer, right?
No, but
we
you
don't
did
win the game.
nonetheless. How did he look as a player to you? He was obviously matched up against Tuanzebe, which was an interesting decision, I thought. You actually called that on the podcast, on the preview, sorry. I think you said that
I made a few
Tuanzebe...
good shouts selection-wise recently.
You did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worrying that you've called it bad selections and then...
No, that part wasn't bad. He was our best player.
I was going to say that. How did Tuanzebe look against one of the best wingers in the Championship?
I think because we played quite defensively, he stood out, and I thought he was our best player pretty comfortably against Fulham. But then when you're at home and you're trying to play a bit more attacking the next game, he didn't look as good because he wasn't as good going forward as an Elmo is at right back. So, but Fulham game, I wasn't. I know Fulham are a good team, and I've seen them play, and they play lovely football, but I wasn't that impressed with them.
I've heard a couple of people say that.
Was that my phone that just went off?
I
think it might have been.
Very, very unprofessional.
I know, that is.
You're having a shocker this evening, quite
The roles have been reversed.
Still making notes, though, so I'm still delivering.
Yeah, that's true. It's thrown us.
Thrown me right.
I think what's thrown you is that it's not you that's done something wrong. That has absolutely thrown you. But yeah, I wasn't impressed by Fulham.
So I think Max Roberts was another guy who said something similar. But they have been impressive all season.
They're a good team.
And they get results. And they seem to be managed well as well. They're unbeaten in 10, and not including last night's results. So that's actually 11 now. They've stretched that to with the Derby.
They've got a tough run coming up, though.
But, I mean, they've already played Villa and Derby in that run. They've shown that they can mix it with...
Was it Derby? Are you sure they played Derby? Derby played Leeds last night, mate.
Oh, goodness me.
Oh, the mistakes.
Bristol City, sorry. I knew it was I was looking at it. I was
dear.
Bristol City, sorry. So they drew that. So that's unbeaten in 11, and that's 2 playoff teams already that they've taken 4 points off. So they can do it, and they'll be getting more and more confidence. Whereas Villa come up against a playoff team in Fulham, don't do the job. Do you know, is that a concern for you?
Not really. I think had we had our best 11 out there, I think we possibly could have gone there and won. If Fulham had played that against our best 11, although I suppose the game would have been more open if our best 11 had been out there because we would have attacked a bit more. We looked like we went there to sneak a 1-0. Right. If we could, but Fulham are doing what they did last season. They weren't really in the race at any point last season, and they came from nowhere and ended the season as the form team. So I'd imagine they're probably going to do a similar thing again. It
feels like they've already started that a little bit earlier than they did last year.
They've got some good players. Sessegnon, they've done well to hold on to him for the last year. To be fair, Tom Kearney's a good player. He played against us. I think we weren't sure whether he would play or not.
No, he's had a knee injury.
Again, I didn't think any of their players really stood out as being great. Maybe they weren't at the races that day, but if they weren't, they still did enough to win.
Well, and they could have added a couple of goals, couldn't they, towards the end when we were looking to push on a bit further forward. And Camara had a chance. Aiti, I think, maybe had another chance as well.
I can't remember, mate.
Yeah, I mean, you had a better night after the game than during the game. But they dominated possession if you look at the stats as well and that kind of thing. So they ran out worthy winners.
I've no complaints with us losing at all, just as I've got no complaints with the point against Preston.
Well, let's go on to that one then. How you were there? What was the mood, first of all? I've seen a few people saying that the mood was down from the very off.
I have to be careful with what I say because I don't want to sound like I'm slagging off the fans, which is someone who's heavily involved in a fan channel isn't a good idea. But the atmosphere was rubbish from the start. Yeah, it was just really downbeat and dead just because we'd lost that one game. I mean, some of the stuff I heard in the whole upper from the fans, even before we conceded, I wonder sometimes why people go to the football and what they get at it. I mean, when you're hearing people tell John Terry he's a load of rubbish, but not in such a nice way, you think, have you ever watched football before, mate? Like
from our own fans, we've seen that,
and that's just one person behind me who's not very bright.
Right.
But it was just a negative. It was a negative atmosphere. I'd say, man, we didn't first half. We weren't at the races. We were terrible. So I understand from that point that the atmosphere might not be great. But even I felt like it was from minute one. It was like that a little bit, and I felt like it was just because we'd lost the last game. And people had forgotten about the 7 games before that we'd won in a row. And I do feel it's a bit like that sometimes at Villa. It's more that the negatives are jumped on, when actually there's quite a lot of positives in general. I think when we lose a game, the automatic reaction is we're in crisis, we're in trouble here, and I don't think it should be like that. When we scored, the atmosphere picked up a little bit, but before that, it was not a nice atmosphere at all. I didn't think.
What did you make of Preston as a team? They're obviously ones that are similar kind of to Fulham last year, in that they're now pushing for the playoffs quite heavily. They look to be making a bit of a run. What did you make of them as a side?
They were good, but I think we let them be good.
Yeah.
At times, I thought Callum Robinson was really good up front, lively, good movement, led the line well. Could have been the kind of player that we could have done with on the left flank, as everyone who can play there is injured.
Former Villa man.
At the moment, former Villa man who was let go. Yeah, or I think in the end he decided to go, but he was never really given a chance under any manager at Villa, which is a shame, because I think he'd be a useful player now in the Championship. I'm not saying he could go on and play Prem, but he's a useful player in the Championship for sure. But they were good. They were good, Preston, but I think they'd only lost one in the last 16 or something, and had the fourth best away record in the league. So the way the game was no surprise to me. I think quite often the fans, some of the fans, not all the fans, because he's a minority. Some people go there and just expect Villa to naturally win, and the football doesn't work like that. It's not as simple as some people think it is.
No, you're absolutely right with that. What did you make of the first goal? To me, it felt a bit weak. Sam Johnson came out to punch it, and then didn't really assert his authority when he probably could have dealt with it if there weren't defenders in the way. How did you see that one?
I mean, he's definitely had better weeks this season.
Yeah.
I'm not going to jump on him at all, because, as I say, I think he's been fantastic this season, and I had issues with him last season. The one little thing in the back of my mind is he had a run of errors last season when he first came in. So now, obviously, he's made 2 errors in 2 games. So I'm hoping it's not going to now make it 3 and 3 and 3, because then he'll start naturally as a goalkeeper. I mean, I think he's a confident lad, but you will start getting a bit jittery if he makes another mistake again, and the fans will start getting jittery as well. That was one of the things I didn't like. Johnston, after the mistake, and we'll come on to talk about the goal in more detail, like you've asked me, but I've gone off on a tangent there, so I'm going to have to carry on.
Not a surprise.
He came out and caught the ball at one point during the game in front of the whole end, and there's just this bunch of fans again. That doesn't do the keeper any good. It doesn't do Villa any good. I don't get why people do things like that. I don't know what they think it achieves. It's not going to make him play better, is it?
No.
If anything, it's going to make him play worse.
Yeah.
So I cannot understand why people do things like that to their own team. But I didn't think the first punch was great. When you're a keeper, I think he should have been trying to come out and clear everyone out there, and it felt a little bit feeble.
I've talked about Johnson from kind of set pieces and crosses before, and I felt a little bit worried by him. He's actually, I think, since the turn of the year, markedly improved in that area of the game, but it was returning to form a little bit against Preston.
I still maintain he's the best goalkeeper in the Championship. I've not seen anyone play this season that I've thought, he's better than Johnson. I mean, I dug my mate out in the Fulham review, and I'm digging him out again at the Fulham game. My mate had a few too many sherbets as well, I think, Aston. And he reeled off a list of 6 keepers he thought were better than Johnston. I don't know what he was on. I know it's his own opinion.
Do you remember any of them?
Fulham keeper Bettelini was one of them. John Ruddy was one of them, and I've never thought John Ruddy was a particularly good goalkeeper.
I have a soft spot for John Ruddy. He's from my hometown.
Yeah, but doesn't mean he's a good goalkeeper.
He is a good goalkeeper.
He's from your hometown.
He used to play at Cambridge and was obviously very highly rated then. Went to Everton.
I'm not saying he's a bad goalkeeper. I don't think he's better than Johnston. I'd rather have Johnston.
I would agree with you. Yeah. Westwood
at Sheffield Wednesday is a decent keeper. He's been good in the Championship for a number of years, but
Stockdale.
No.
I wondered how many beers you'd had. I just need to make the level.
No, I'm trying to think of the others were, but I can't remember. But that's the thing. Like, he's a good goalkeeper. He's had a bad week. But hopefully he'll bounce back and rectify that. It's
hard for a goalkeeper, isn't it? Because you make one mistake and that's a goal. You can make 5 or 6 good saves and nobody scores up front, and you're still drawing 1-1.
In my opinion, he's changed more games for Villa this season for the better. He's cost us less points than he's won us. Is that right? Sorry, he's won us more. He's won us more points than he's lost us. God,
absolutely. Well, let's talk about the penalty for a second. We'll come on to Grabban's, obviously his first goal, but his introduction. I thought it was a soft penalty.
At the time, I thought it was soft.
Bruce has said that he thought it was soft, and then he went back and watched the replays.
Yeah,
and
I'm the
said,
same. I'm of the same school of
Are
thought.
you think it is a penalty now? You look at it.
I think I said to me and my dad were both saying at the time, it's not a penalty.
Yeah.
That is so soft. But then I did also think at the time, the Preston guy is stupid for making a movement towards him when he's not going to get the ball. Because when you do things like that, you do run the risk. I mean, the referee was closer to it than the linesman, and the ref wasn't going to give it.
Yeah.
But the linesman decided it was a pen and gave it, and the ref seems to always go with the linesman.
Yeah.
In that situation, which is obviously very good for us that's happened. But if it had been given the other way, I'd have been upset.
Yeah, I think it is one of those where it could have gone either way, and probably more likely goes the way of the defender.
We've had a lot of penalties this season, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I think but then I think of the refereeing performances in general against us, and I thought most have been dire.
Yeah.
So maybe we deserve a bit
The last
of
couple
one
of
that
weeks,
wasn't.
you've been quite popular. You've been quite positive.
The ref against Blues was very good.
Yeah.
I thought he was very, very good.
Yeah. Last couple.
I can't remember whether the Fulham ref was any good or not. In all honesty, Preston ref wasn't great.
What did you think of Grabban in general when he came on?
Good, considering he's playing on the right midfield, which isn't really his position. I thought he just hassled and harried and wasn't afraid to have a shot. He just G'd us up a little bit, gave us a bit more directness. And obviously Davis was on there as well, who you can go direct with. And Bruce has said himself that's what we did in the second half. I'm not sure blaming the pitch I would go along with, because Preston were playing on that same pitch and they looked okay.
Well, we'll talk about the pitch a little bit later on. How do you think the tactics are going to work out for the trip to Sheffield Wednesday then, if we are still missing Adoma and Grealish, which it looks likely that we are?
Yeah, I think we'll be without both again.
Bruce expects Snodgrass to return. Snodgrass went off with illness.
Yeah, that wasn't ideal.
But we expect Snoddy to be back for the trip to Hillsborough.
We need as many people as we can get back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shame Andre Green's injured at this point as well, because he would have been a good person to put in for Adoma. He'd have been a natural replacement for him, bit of pace on the flanks, and I think that's our main issue at the moment. I mean, obviously having your best player, in my opinion, and your top goal scorer out is a problem, and would be a problem for every team in this league. No one would be as effective with those two kind of players missing.
We're missing our creative nucleus.
Yeah.
Not just the goal scorers, but the goal creators.
Yeah, and you've got last season's top scorer missing in Codger, who can play left midfield as well.
Yeah.
You've got Green missing, who could play left midfield. He was your young player of the year last year. Mm-hmm. So whoever we put on the left flank, you're probably not thinking at any point in the season you'll get down to your fifth choice left midfield. I mean, Burker played there on Tuesday, which, to be fair, that was what I said he should do, because I wanted to see Onuma play in the middle. But he wasn't effective out there. I thought that was his position, but apparently he said that left midfield isn't his position. He's a central midfielder.
And I think we've seen since January that central midfield, he's made that his position.
Anchorman's definitely his position now, playing that role. I mean, I know there's a question about Connor coming in, so we'll talk about him then, but Connor Hurahan. He got pulled at half-time, but in all honesty, anyone could have got pulled. I think it's harsh to single him out, because I didn't think Yednat was playing well. I thought Yednat was looking slow when they were running rings around him in the first half. And I think Connor's trying to get the quick passes away, and there wasn't much movement. So he's getting the ball, trying to release it quickly, creatively, and there isn't any movement in front of him. Hogan was isolated again, as he seems to be when Jack doesn't play. So we were kind of going back to old problems a little bit. But apart from Alan Hutton, I don't think anyone played well in the first half.
Alan Hutton had an absolute rocket, didn't he?
Yeah, he had
almost
a couple of
opened his
shots.
account in wonderful
I think he's going to
fashion.
score before the end of the season. I hope he does. Anyway, because it would be a good send-off for him. I mean, Chester ran him close for man of the match in the second half. Chester made, I don't know if it was on the highlights that you've seen, but Chester made an absolute goal-saving block. Can't remember if it was 2-0 or 1-1 at the time. If it was 1-0 or 1-1 at the time.
Yep.
But it was an absolute heroic block. In second half, he repelled everything. Because I don't think Terry had his best game.
Terry was
either.
actually as roundly criticised as I've seen Terry be criticised in a Villa shirt. And what was your opinion of him?
But again, I think they were all pretty bad.
Yeah.
I think it's harsh to single anyone out, because I think they were all pretty bad except for Alan Hutton.
Well, we'll come on to, in a separate video, we'll do the Sheffield Wednesday preview. But there's a lot of positions that appear to be a bit up for grabs this weekend, especially with injuries, but with form as well. You know, you're looking at someone like Hogan, who hasn't scored in a couple of games now, and Grabban obviously took the penalty, was lively. Keenan Davis as well. We'll be looking for
Davis is injured now, I think. He was hobbling at the end. I think he twisted his ankle, so I don't think he'll make the weekend. So that's another injury to add.
Well,
to be fair to Hogan, it's not like he's been missing loads of chances in those 2 games. I think he had a half chance against Fulham that he put over the bar.
Just hasn't had them.
There's just no chances without Jack and Adoma.
The Fulham chance I think you're talking about, was it the ball from Berke Bjarnason down the wing?
Quick balling and he hit it first time.
That was an absolute...
Second half.
A great effort.
Yeah, and I've not seen it back.
Yeah, it was brilliant, like to turn and shoot.
I'm surprised
like
I remembered it, but...
Yeah. Well, it was obviously that good. Yeah. Well, let's look at the Championship, unless there's anything else you want to touch on from the either game.
No, I've probably alienated myself enough with the fan criticism. So,
it's an.
I know there's a lot of people that agree with me.
Right, let's get into it before we go into look at the Championship, because you're right, it is a fan channel, and this is run by fans for fans.
And it's not a criticism of all the fans, as I'm saying, it is a minority.
But it's one of these subjects that we get almost every week. What's up with the atmosphere at Villa Park? What can we do to improve it? And it starts with the fans. I think the atmosphere at any stadium is based on fans and getting behind the team, and we've talked about that before, and people were all about getting up for it, and in January that seemed to be all positive, but as soon as we get some negative news or some injury updates, it seems to be heads down, and we're in a bit of a slog again.
It's just every misplaced pass is met with universal groan from the minority. It's met with groans, and when you look at how I know it's a derby game, and I know it's completely different, so in a way it's pointless me saying this, but you just look at how the atmosphere was against Birmingham, and then you compare it with what the atmosphere was from the off against Preston. It's just two different grounds. And I just wish it could be. When I was a kid under Little and Gregor, I remember the place was always bouncing. There was always a good atmosphere. Every player would have a song, and I think now in the Championship, because we're Aston Villa in the Championship, I've said this before on the podcast, when we're winning, it's almost like it's just that's what we should be doing. It's expected. And as I say, football is not that simple, and the Championship is definitely not that simple. And when we're not doing well, it's like it's an absolute disgrace, and everyone's outraged. And I just think it shouldn't be like that. That's not how I think support should be.
Do you think other clubs are like that?
Probably.
I've always kind of wondered this.
Yeah.
Because Villa aren't isolated in that fans expect a little bit more. I mean, I do a lot of work in my career with Manchester United, and Manchester United fans are obviously very demanding as well, because they've had such high expectations.
And they're not doing what they probably think they should be.
Yeah, and
not to the extreme of us though.
But it's kind of similar. I mean, Manchester United fans should think that they should be winning Champions Leagues, Premier Leagues. We should be in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And I guess
but you have no divine right to do anything. That's the problem.
Exactly right. And we're only going to get back there if we're a proper club. And it feels like we've been like that.
And we were a proper club for 7. Even after the Fulham game, the fans applauded off. It was great. Like the players came over, and I was thinking, there'll be a few boos here now. And you could see the players were a bit reluctant to come over, because they'll have come over and been booed in the past, without a doubt, when they've lost. But you could see they were uplifted by the fact that the fans were clapping them off, and because they knew they hadn't played well as well. They'll have known that they didn't have a good game against Fulham, but you could see they were buoyed by the fact that the fans cheered them off, clapped them, thanked them for their efforts. They thanked the fans. Great. And then, as I say, from the off against Preston, it just felt negative. It felt really... I mean, people will say that they felt the team selection was negative and stuff like that, but we've got a lot of injuries. There's only so much you can do.
I was going to say here, Keith Price says, do you think an uninspiring team sheet contributed to the flat atmosphere on Tuesday, and would O'Hare's inclusion help to lift it?
But we knew O'Hare wasn't going to be playing, because we knew he played the night before.
Played the night before, yeah.
And also, I've seen a lot of people say just swap Jack for O'Hare, but to me it doesn't work like that, because Jack isn't playing as a number 10. He's been playing arguably the best football since he's been at Villa, with the exception of Tim Sherwood, when Tim Sherwood first came in and he was ripping it up at Wembley. But he's not playing. Jack's not playing as a number 10. He's playing as a central midfielder. I don't think you can throw O'Hare in. If we're going to stay with that formation that's worked well, I don't think you can throw O'Hare in a central midfield role. I don't think he's got the stature for it. He runs his socks off and he'll give it a good go. But I don't think he's quite ready to start Championship games. And that's just my opinion. I'm not saying anyone else who says that he is wrong. I'm just saying that's my opinion. I don't think that he's ready to start Championship games. I think he's too raw. And I saw it
Was Grealish not too raw, though, when he started a couple of years ago?
Well, you can say that, but then in his 4th or 5th game, he was tearing up Liverpool at Wembley. So
yeah, but O'Hare can only tear it up if he's given the chance to.
Yeah, if we were playing 4-2-3-1, I'd say maybe he's worth a go. And we play him as a number 10, because that's his position. Asking him to play central midfield, if you'd have asked Jack to play central midfield at that point, he wouldn't have been able to do it, and he wouldn't have performed to his best. And I think that's what would happen with O'Hare. I mean, Davies came on in the second half and he put himself about, but he's very raw still. His decision making isn't great at times. I mean, he had a chance to put Bjarnason through and he overhit the pass, so he gets things wrong, and it's to be expected. To me, he's still a kid. I expect that they will make mistakes, but then he does that and people at the ground are having a go at him. Onum must be only 20, and he's become the biggest scapegoat since Ashley Westwood.
Well, on that, Villa Mad says, Dan is obviously a fan of Onuma, but I would love to know what he's seeing that I'm missing. Unless it's a contractual thing, then he should never be in front of O'Hare. Play your own youth, not someone else's. What do you make of that?
I get the point of view, and I get why you're saying. I mean, me and Villa Mad don't agree on a lot of things. We never have any arguments on Twitter, but we always seem to see things differently.
Yeah,
I'd say Onuma is ahead of O'Hare in his football development. And you were there at QPR away. How good was Onuma that day?
He ran the show.
He was our best player that day, Onuma, and he's had good games. He scored a few goals. And again, but he's raw as well, but he's ahead of O'Hare in his football development, so he's going to play ahead of him at this point. Ideally, O'Hare wouldn't be at Villa at the moment. He'd be on loan somewhere playing every single week, well, like when Jack went to Notts County, but because of the stupid rules, we're too reluctant to do that, because if we had an injury crisis, we'd need him, and you can't call him back. So the rules have done us over a little bit.
But it feels a bit like we're going to hark back to November, December, when you and I were sitting here in this booth, and we were talking about how players like O'Hare, Green, I know Green was injured, but other young players weren't even getting on the bench, and it feels like there's a bit of a missed opportunity to give them minutes.
I get that, and that I completely agree with. There was a bench picked a few against Blues, that there was much more use in putting Hepburn Murphy or O'Hare or Davies, I don't think made the bench that day, on there, than having Whelan and there was someone else. There was 3 people that could basically play defensive midfield all on the bench. So you could have put a more attacking player on the bench, but we won that game. It didn't really matter. So I agree with that. There's a chance to have these people on the bench, and if Davies is injured, I'd expect to see O'Hare or Hepburn Murphy on the bench at the weekend. But I just don't like all this scapegoating. I don't.
Yeah.
Especially at a time when we're doing well. I get it. When things aren't great, there's always going to be a scapegoat. But in general, things are very good still. We're in no way in a disaster zone. And it's that thing again. We haven't won for a couple of games. But in 3-4 weeks' time, Cardiff might not have won for a couple of games. That is how the Championship is. We did that podcast before Christmas, and we were probably too low with what was going on, because we then went and won 7 games. And that could quite easily happen again.
Yeah.
The league's ridiculous. Someone said something on Twitter about just wait till the end of the season, judge at the end of the season.
I think Steve Bruce said that.
Yeah, well, no, someone else has said it.
I know.
I think maybe it was Dolan said it to us on a private messaging earlier, but it's where you end up in May.
Yep.
It's not about where you are now. Okay, if you keep yourself in touch with second, obviously that's more beneficial, and we are in touch. We're closer than we ever could have hoped to have been a month ago or 2 months ago. In my opinion, all is not lost just because you don't win for a couple of games. Obviously, if we got another 4 or 5 game, 6 game streak of not winning, then okay, there's problems. But I look at the circumstances of the loss and the draw, and I got stick off someone for saying that the Preston point in the end was a good point. I'm not saying drawing Preston's acceptable. I'm saying in the context of the game where we did not play well, that is a point earned.
And we're missing a few key players.
Yeah, that's a good point. They're on good form. After in the story of the game, that's a good point. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, let's have a look at the Championship table. We'll go back on to Callum O'Hare because there's a few more things that I think various people on Twitter. It's been a big talking point, hasn't it, over the last few days? So the Championship table is as thus. Wolves still at the top, unsurprisingly, but Cardiff move into second, now 4 points ahead of Villa in third. They beat Ipswich last night, and they also, how did they get on beforehand? They won. They beat
You refer
Middlesbrough
to
as
your
well.
notes.
Oh, I have to. I
To
printed
be
out.
fair, I couldn't remember what the result was at the weekend.
There's been so many games in the last week.
Yeah,
It's almost impossible.
It's a good job you actually have those notes. I give Tom a lot of stick for the notes, but they do come in handy.
I've even printed off 2 tables, one of which is redundant.
One
now.
with a big line through it.
Yeah, well, I don't want to look at that one.
Some nice use of the pink highlighter as well.
Yeah,
over there.
they're important games, you know. So Derby, Fulham, and Bristol City make up the rest of the playoff picture. And it was an interesting one last night, wasn't it? Because Fulham and Bristol City obviously drew against each other. Derby also drew. Wolves drew, and Cardiff were the only ones to really make ground in the midweek fixtures.
And Cardiff have been around the autos all season.
Neil
to be
Warnock's
fair
a
to them.
canny manager.
Oh, he is. I don't like him, but he's a very good manager at this level. He's got the best out of that Cardiff side. And as I say, they've been around second place all season, whereas we've kind of slowly made our way up there. They've consistently been there. It feels like us, Derby, Fulham, we've all risen to get to that position, but I do feel like they've kind of been consolidated there the whole time.
Frustrating thing is, if you look at it, Wolves have drawn their last 2 games, and you can't win them all. So expecting Villa to go 9 unbeaten is unrealistic. Only Chris Dolan ever says that we go that
Poor
long.
Dolan, he's going to rue the day he ever made those outlandish predictions.
But you do look at those, and it's just only natural, I think, for fans to go, that's 4 points where we could have caught up with them in that situation. And it is true, but you can't expect to go out and win every game, especially tough games against Fulham. Preston are 9th, and they're climbing. They're only 3 points off the playoffs.
I mean,
now.
they were 7th at the time when we played them. They've dropped down because I think Middlesbrough and Sheffield United won.
Actually, they weren't. They were 9th, according to my previous one.
Okay, sorry.
But, now, that might even be wrong, actually.
I'm sure they were 7th, but never mind.
No, you might be right, actually, because that was after... I don't know. I'm not
Forget
sure.
it. I think you're right, actually.
For once. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm smashing
You're on
tonight.
fire tonight.
But yeah, so it's a very, very close. Don't get too high with the highs. Don't get too low with the lows. I think
See where we are in May.
that's what we've been preaching ever since. A few people blaming the bobbly pitch, Dan, for poor performances on Tuesday night. What did you make of the pitch, firstly, with your own eyes?
I thought it's better than it has been in previous weeks. It's definitely not in its peak condition, and it hasn't been for a while. But we found out that it should have been. Usually pitches get replaced after 10 years, but ours was so good we left it, and it's now been 12 years.
It won awards, didn't it? It won Pitch
Yeah.
of the Year. Is that 2 years in a row?
Last season in the Championship, we had the best pitch in the Championship last season.
Yeah.
So they've kept it. That's fair enough. Fair enough, isn't it? The weather has been a bit freakish.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of rain, more snow.
Yeah, cold
than
and then
usual.
hot,
So it's going to affect the pitch, but I don't think it's as big a deal as some would make out.
No, and as you mentioned earlier,
Preston played okay on it.
Exactly right. Yeah, Bruce was the one that was saying it was affecting our style of play, but I don't like to hear those excuses, particularly when 2 teams have to play on it. We'll go to a lot worse pitches and we'll play better than that. So
I mean, we've only been playing out and out attacking football for the last month or so.
Yeah.
It's not like we've been playing that way all season, is it?
Yeah.
We've been very workmanlike for a lot of our wins.
Yes.
So I'm not having the pitch stuff.
No?
I'm not having it. No.
All right, let's move on to something. Well, as we kind of talked about earlier, the call for.
Let's move on to something we've already talked about. That's basically what you're saying.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're running out of content because there's nothing to talk about this week. There is a lot to
yes,
talk about.
I was going to say.
Yeah, it's banter.
Oh.
All right.
Banter.
You know.
I don't like that word.
Do you not?
Nah.
Why?
Don't know. It's an overused word, isn't it?
Is it?
Overused. Friendly banter. It's an overused term.
But that's what this is.
Okay.
right.
Is that what we've built the podcast on?
I think
Friendly
so.
banter.
Yes, agreed. Callum O'Hare. So he very impressive in the 6-1 win over Wolves for the under-23s. I must admit, I just watched the highlights of that one. I
I haven't seen them.
wasn't there. Yeah, they're online. I got them on Facebook.
People knew you weren't going to have been there, Tom.
Just have to make sure. Everything went through O'Hare, and the game was watched by Agnew, Clements, and Walsh. Does that make a difference, do you think, to his chances of starting on Saturday, or even featuring on Saturday?
You would think if the coaching staff thought he was ready, he would have played. He would have started at some point already this season or been on the bench more. Mm-hmm. They obviously don't think he's quite ready. And they're the ones that see him every day. Mm-hmm. They're the professionals, not me and you, not anyone else on Twitter. So you would think, I know obviously we never agree with everything managers do, but stuff like that you'd think they'd know if O'Hare was ready. You could very well see him on the bench on Saturday. There's been calls for him, and we are decimated by injuries, attacking player-wise. So, yeah. I don't even. People say you should start in the next game. He's never going to jump up from not being on the bench to starting.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So the best he can hope for is the bench.
I think the Birmingham Mail, if I'm not mistaken, have him in their starting lineup.
Do they?
Yeah, it's quite an odd. I think they've gone for Davis, O'Hare, and then Grabban on the left.
I'd have Grabban on the left. That's what I'd do. Yeah. Personally.
Well, we'll get into that on
the old preview.
In the preview, Chris Harvey says, do you think Onuma should be below O'Hare and maybe Lansbury in choice for playing as well? Well, Lansbury's kind of the forgotten man of this Villa team at the moment.
Well, he's on the bench, wasn't he? He hasn't been fit all season, so he's not going to be match fit. So again, he's not going to just come in and play. It's not going to happen. But then I suppose people would say, well, he should be playing for the under-23s there, which I would be inclined to agree with. But he's a different type of player to a Grealish and an O'Hare. For me, Lansbury, that he's more of a Connor type of player. And I'd personally, from what I've seen of them both, I'd pick Connor.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I think Hurahan was missing from the Birmingham Mail's lineup. I don't know if they'd dropped him or...
I think that would be very harsh.
Yeah, I would agree. And Conor Hurahan was one of the players that really stepped up in the early part of the season. We've talked about him before, but he's obviously been a part of the footballing cog that's worked so well going forward. And that has to be an equal partnership between Snodgrass, Jack Grealish. They can't all stand out all the time. But it does... Not to over-dramatise the point, maybe, but we kind of need somebody to step up now and take Sheffield Wednesday by the horns, especially if it's going to be, if you're going to bring in players that aren't as experienced. You need somebody who's going to lead this team.
But to me, that first 45 minutes, again, no one had a good game. But you're saying
against Preston.
Against Preston. If you're saying, like, I bet if you look at the running stats, that 45 minutes, I bet Connor ran more than anyone else.
Right.
He shuts people down. He gets in your face quickly. I think sometimes people really do look at things a bit simply, if that's a word. Is simply a word?
I'm not sure.
No, simplistically.
Yeah. Go on.
So we're all talking about we're missing Grealish. Right. We miss Grealish. We need him back. What do you not think his central midfield partner misses having him in front of him? Does it not then affect that player?
Totally. Well, this is what I'm talking about. It's not just one player who's made Villa a really good team.
Yeah, it's a cog. Yeah, it's a machine. Everyone's a cog. You know, in what was a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
So Connor's getting the ball, and as I said earlier, there's no one to pass to. There's not the movement of Grealish. There's not that fluidity that was there because Grealish and Adoma are missing. So it's bound to affect people. It's bound to affect other players as well. They're bound to suffer by those players not missing. I mean, the teams picked haven't been the most fluid really in the last couple of games. So the people that have been doing well, it is going to affect them. But Connor scored 8 goals this season from central midfield, and a lot of the time, I mean, only recently is in the last the 7-game winning run. That was the only time I really remember him and the Norwich game at home being given any kind of freedom. He sacrificed himself for the team the entire season because he's been playing as a defensive midfielder, which isn't his game, and as a result, I think his defensive game has improved. But he's sacrificed himself for the team the whole season. So to have got 8 goals is actually quite impressive. Yeah, because he's been playing as a box to box for the majority, for 2/3 of the season, I'd argue.
Yeah, and we didn't find our system until fairly halfway through the first half of the season. That's a quarter of the way.
I'd argue we only found it 7 games ago.
Yeah. I guess we went unbeaten in November, didn't we? We were starting to work, but I guess maybe that was a different system.
But we weren't playing, and we weren't playing as nice football as we did over that 7-game winning run. It's like, again, people giving Onum a stick. But a lot of the time, he's coming on as a sub, or he's playing left midfield. Well, you saw that video when he was linking up with Grealish in I think it was the Burton game when he came on as sub, and they were passing the ball between each other. Lovely football, lovely move. He's a good footballer. On him, but it's the same thing. There's nothing going on around him. What's he going to do? Yeah. He's not going to run the whole length of the pitch and score himself. Yeah. So these players being out is affecting the players that are picked. It's inevitable. Yeah, of course. Well, a supercomputer. Sorry.
All right.
So we probably
killed it
with those 2 missing. We probably do need to find a different formation. Ideally, we need a formation that doesn't involve having a left winger because we haven't got any. But the only way we could do that really is by playing 3 at the back or playing a narrow diamond. But I don't think we can play a narrow diamond because I don't think we've got any fullbacks that can maraud as effectively as we'd need
Well,
them to.
I don't know.
I suppose we
do.
could actually. Maybe that's the answer for now.
Yeah.
Play a narrow diamond and just don't have any. But then where's Snodgrass going to play?
Yeah.
Number 10. I don't know.
It's hard, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
hard being a football manager.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't envy him. I mean, he's getting paid a lot of money, Bruce. And we should remember at the moment, Bruce has got a lot going on.
Yeah.
With his family life, he's having an absolute terrible time of it at the moment. So he's probably not there a lot of the time either, which is, again, it's going to affect things.
Yeah, and I mean that is life, unfortunately, isn't it? Some things are bigger than football, and that is one of them. This is a bit lighter on this one.
Good, I found myself getting a bit het up.
We need to, don't we? A supercomputer has predicted the table. Do you know where it's put us?
Yeah, because you told me.
I did. Yeah. You never play along with the mystique.
I'm not an actor, Tom. I like to keep it natural.
The supercomputer.
I'm not like you in, what were you in?
The Bill.
Woof. The Bill.
And EastEnders.
Not Woof. I don't know where I got that from. There's no guy who used to work here that was in Woof.
What's Woof?
You never saw him. You're probably too young. It's a programme about a boy that kept turning into a dog. Great theme tune it had.
Go on, sing it.
It was just good.
Was it on? What was it on?
It would have been on like children's ITV.
I never watched children's ITV.
No, it's just like the white. You weren't allowed white clothes.
Yeah.
Like, you'll watch pure BBC, Thomas.
Oh, it was just BBC was the choice.
You can change the channel, Tom.
But
If you're on your own, did you not ever think, oh, I wonder what's on these other 3 channels?
Oh, trouble.
Yeah.
Get that.
God, I hope you never had a skybox in your house.
We
You'd have
did.
been in all kind of trouble.
We did, but ITV was just never a choice. It was BBC or, I don't know, Nickelodeon.
Okay, fair enough. Nickelodeon was good. There's some good stuff on that.
Anyway,
Back in the day.
we seem to have digressed somewhat again.
I've still not heard off your mum either while we're talking about your family.
I don't know if she's caught up with the podcast since she's got back from holiday.
She's got to get a shit.
She doesn't subscribe. She just
To be fair, it is my mum, but my dad does.
she listens every week, but I think
You've got to get her on the subscriber.
Yeah.
Get her on the subscriber list.
I've asked her to write us a review.
Tell her we'll make a VIP. Not sure what you get when you VIP. There is no other VIPs, but I'll think of something.
Can you make people? Oh, goodness me. All right, let's get back to the supercomputer, for goodness sake. Unsurprisingly, the supercomputer has confirmed Wolves as champions. I don't really know.
It's good, this supercomputer, isn't it? 105 points.
105
That's
points,
probably reasonable.
which is pretty big. The reason I brought it up was one of the questions we got on Twitter was from Andrew Rankin, who has put some effort in here. He says, with 13 games left, it looks like we'd need 90 points to go up in second. With Cardiff, Derby and Wolves fixtures still to play, is every other game a must-win starting Saturday? And then he said... he's kind of listed the previous second place, so 93 points for Brighton, Middlesbrough 89, Watford 89 and Burnley 93. The supercomputer has Derby finishing second with 88 points.
You know what? Before I saw that, 88 was the number I had in my head for second.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, Villa, according to this, will finish on 87, and then Cardiff, Fulham and Bristol City make up the rest. Well,
That would be very upsetting.
They have Sheffield United falling off a little bit, down at 73, ninth with 73 points, which I would say... Well, I mean, I don't know what goes into a supercomputer to make this kind of stuff. But this is going to go down to the wire. Do you think 90 points we have to reach, or do you think 88
I think
is
if you
threshold?
get 90, you'll definitely go up in second. Mm-hmm. But I think it's going to be tough ask to get that.
105 points is a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, well done, Wolves.
Yeah.
Because they'll undoubtedly smash the 100-point barrier because they've been so consistent all season, to be fair. God, so that has them how many points? 12, 13, 17 points ahead of second, Wolves. That's a good season, isn't it, if it comes off?
It's not bad. If you're interested, the teams that went down would be Burton, Sunderland and Birmingham City. Birmingham City on the same points as Barnsley, but conceded 11 or 10 goals less.
Yeah, that 5 goals
10
against
goals
that 5 goals against Brentford that they shipped the other night.
Yeah, didn't help.
No, don't do well. The Birmingham teams when they go to Brentford, do they?
No.
We have trouble there as well.
It's a bogey place, isn't
And
it?
Fulham is. That's another thing. We can't. I've been there, as I say, I've probably repeated myself 100 times now, but I've been there 5 times, and the best I've seen is a 0-0 against Alex McLeish.
Did you have a pie?
Sorry, with Alex McLeish. I didn't eat all day.
Oh, wow, that's going to cost you, isn't it?
And you know what? This Sunday morning I was up for a run at 9:30.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
You're a changed man now.
Credit to me for that.
Self-crediting. Good.
You know what? I was so determined that I wasn't going to have a greasy burger because it was bad for me. But I wasn't really thinking, you know what? Those 8 points might not be great for you.
That will do it. Let's finish on this before we get some questions. Jonathan Codger put up a little Instagram video. You're an Insta fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
I'm back on the Insta now.
Yeah, I've been tagged you in something today on Instagram. Nice old picture, throwback Thursday.
Yeah,
of us in the dressing room.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't physically like it.
So if you liked it a lot, why didn't you like it
Well,
on Instagram? That's the idea of Instagram, Tom.
I didn't check it on Instagram. I'm not into the habit of checking Instagram yet.
No, you will be.
Yeah.
It becomes addictive.
Well, when I
like
go
all social media.
When I go on holiday, I'm gonna get on the Instagram.
Oh God, I can't wait for that.
All right. Sorry for all those pictures of those rabbits that I had to endure.
I've stopped that now.
Have you?
Yeah.
What, since they started eating each other?
We've had some teething problems with the rabbits recently.
It's very sad.
Knows.
Anyway, Jonathan Codger. This
Yeah.
has been a very digressive podcast.
People don't mind. Well, they'll either like it or they won't.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, yeah.
He's been out since October with an ankle injury, but a long time before that as well, struggling. But posted a video of himself doing some ball work on the aforementioned Instagram. Keepy ups, dribbling and close control. Always positive to see players working hard to get back into fitness.
Yeah, hopefully he'll be back before the end of the season, but I think we kind of rushed him back a little bit in the first place, so I imagine there'll be extra caution this time round. So yeah, good. Want him back ASAP.
Yeah, it's not going to be for a little while yet, is it? It's going to be one of those where, like you say, we can't rush him back again.
No.
But we probably won't see him again till next year, do you think?
I mean, even if one of our worst nightmares happens and we do end up in the playoffs, which I suppose isn't as bad a nightmare as not being in the playoffs at all, but he might be a useful player for the playoff picture. Mm-hmm. I just don't want to be in the playoffs. I keep thinking about it. I don't want to do it. It could be heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And I've had some heartbreak at Wembley before, but I think that would top the lot, especially if you finish third.
How do you feel right now? Do you feel like we're going to... Do you feel second? Or...
I think it's achievable.
Yeah.
But I'm 50-50 on it, obviously.
Yeah.
We'll either make it or we won't.
It's tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
It does make me feel a bit sick thinking about playoffs.
Honestly, I've watched some of those finals before and thought, Christ, the game with the one Derby lost in the last minute, Bobby Zamora.
Yeah.
Oh, can you imagine? It'd just be horrible. And I do always feel, I think Huddersfield went up in third last year. I just feel generally like the team that finishes third doesn't go up a lot of the time. Mm. And I think it'll be second or third for us.
Yeah.
Let's stay positive and think that it's second.
Absolutely. I meant to mention earlier, the Villa View were at the fans consultation group meeting.
Daniel Rolinson was there, yeah.
On Tuesday, yeah. Dan Rolinson was there for the Villa View.
Rolinson.
Sorry. Attended by a bunch of different fan groups. Always good to get fan questions to the club leadership. Keith Winus, Luke Organ, Tommy Jordan and Lee Priest.
Wish I could remember what SLO stood for Lee Priest's job title.
Something officer?
Supporters liaison officer, but I'm not sure that's right.
That's not a bad shout, though.
I'm not sure it's right, though. Let us know, Lee.
Is there anything, we obviously debriefed with Dan, is there anything that stood out to you from the fan consultation?
I need to have the notes in front of me,
that we
to
need
be honest.
to look at. There wasn't, though, anything particularly, I don't think.
It was interesting tidbits, but I decided it didn't warrant a whole video.
The pitch
came up,
has been one of the things.
So it says here the pitch has deteriorated badly. The one thing we are used to at Villa fans is a beautiful pitch. It's always what was on the pitch that was the problem. I think Jonathan Thayer might have wrote this. What is the reason for this deterioration and what are the plans to address that? So again, it's the recent and continuous wet weather has had a significant impact on the playing surface, which is clearly visible. In an attempt to mitigate these conditions, we purchased additional pitch lighting rigs in 2017, which has helped to some degree. The operations team are currently working on plans for a complete pitch replacement project, including undersoil heating, irrigation and drainage systems. These plans need to be finalised and submitted for financial consideration.
I mean, it's all glitz and glamour, isn't it, in the football world?
Everything is weighing on what league we're in.
Yeah.
I think to the extreme that we're able to do things. Stuff on the disabled supporters issues there.
I thought the stuff on, I mean, they didn't say an awful lot on the Lyngby Bold Club situation. I don't know if you remember a couple of weeks ago, Villa in links with joining forces with a Danish team who are struggling financially. There's talk of us making them our feeder club for the under-23s, and obviously they're promising players as well. I think Keith Winus did say that they do have a good youth system in place already, so it might be an advantage. He also talked about potential for more more collaboration with other teams in the future.
Rollo, that was one of the things I spoke to Rollo on the phone afterwards on my way home from the game on Tuesday, and he was quite excited by this. This seemed to have piqued his interest. Mm-hmm. So he was saying it all sounded really good, the stuff with Lingby and the feeder club stuff. So hopefully there'll be more news soon. Do you want to do the next one? I've got a bit of gas here. I've got a bit of hiccups.
Well, we'll leave that. I don't think there's too much more to say. It's one of those where there's a lot of information about media channels, and obviously about the fans want to know about getting more information, basically about being more connected to the fans, and that's something that since Dr. Tony's come in, Luke Organ, Steve Round, Keith Winers, they've all been working to give more information to the fans.
And Rollo put a lot of the key points up on Twitter yesterday when the embargo was lifted. So if you are wanting, to be fair, I know that some of the other guys that were there, My Old Man Says and Jonathan Fear at Vital Villa, they've put the full minutes up on their website, so head over to theirs if you do wish to read the entirety of the minutes. I think that the main lesson I've learned here is that we probably should have done a video on it separately and not talked about it in the podcast. I don't feel like it's...
We didn't sell it, did we?
No. But it is a really useful thing, and not all clubs have this relationship with their fans where fans can come in and air any concerns that they have, and there be an open forum, and it's an honest forum as well. So check it out on the other sites if you do want to read the whole thing. But Rollo did put up the main bits on social media yesterday.
Let's get on to a couple of Twitter points as well.
Yeah, I've got a great one as I told you about earlier.
Well, let's go with this one first. Wayne Homer says, "Don't be reverting back to a negative show, gents, after a couple of poor results. Remember how down you were just before we won 7 on the spin. Still roughly a quarter of the season to go." That's an important point to remember, with lots of twists and turns.
Yeah, I agree.
All the best.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot, Wayne. As I've said before, I always think he's the voice of reason. If I was to have an angel and devil on my shoulder, I'd like Wayne to be the angel.
Would you? Who'd be the devil?
Jolly and Lescott. Although I wouldn't listen to him.
I'll go Aston Radford.
No, he's the devil. He is the devil, reincarnated.
Simon O'Regan, why do you think Hourihane splits opinion so much? Personally, I think he's excellent, albeit the last 2 games he's been a little bit poor. But when did we last have a centre midfielder who reached double figures in goals, which he's 2 away from achieving? #Hourihane.
I like that use of that hashtag Hourihane. Well done, Simon. We've discussed it, haven't we? But I'm a big fan of his.
If anyone knows anything about Marmaris in Turkey, this is a public service announcement. Please get in touch with Hop _Ben on Twitter. He's looking for some holiday advice.
I don't know if he's got a missus or he's going with family or whatever, but you can imagine he's the kind of guy you want to sort a holiday song before he goes, sing in the car on the way to the airport.
Nobody loves a chant.
He loves a chant.
Nobody loves a song more.
Get a nice holiday chant going in the car before they get to the airport.
Ben Hopkins. You said you were going to get up a good one.
Yeah, this is a good one. Adam Wright, who did the great fan cams after the Birmingham games, messaged me to say, "I have an invite to a friend's wedding, friend from school. It's the same day as the playoff final. RSVP already overdue. Already missing Leeds at home because of the stag. What shall I do?"
Oh, no.
So I said that is a toughie and asked him the question, "Is it an all-day invite?" And he said, "Evening, 1700 arrival." To which I said, "Nah, forget that. If they don't invite you all day, you're not important enough to them." So he said, "That's what I said. But the wife, as you would expect, disagrees." So I again said, "Toughie." And then Dan Rolinson said, "Just bin it."
Oh yeah, done it.
It's very simple when you're not the one involved.
Yeah.
He said his missus had, and then after he must have delivered that message, and his missus said, "If he's not that important, then you don't need to go to the stag do you?"
Oh.
So actually, I've not helped you. I've been a hindrance.
I mean, fair play.
In this instance,
fair play. If the missus just came up with that on the spot, then that's a great comeback.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know what I'd do in that situation. I think you've got to take the risk. You've got to RSVP. You can RSVP as a yes and not go still.
Yeah.
Because I've had it where there's been a dropout at a wedding before on the day, and I ended up going all day because someone dropped out, so I was like first reserve.
Oh, were you?
For a wedding.
Was your missus invited to the whole day?
Yeah, we both came. We both went the whole day. Jimmy and Chantel, we were called. For the whole day. That's what our name places. So I don't think I really looked like a Jimmy.
Did you introduce yourself as Jimmy to people?
I think I did. Was quite hammered, and I ended up saying I was Jimmy to people.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Most of the day.
Yeah.
That was my first time drinking on Saturday for 2.5 months, to be fair to me.
Yeah.
So the fact that I did go up and go for the run is even more commendable.
Yeah, go on. Congratulate yourself again,
Thanks.
please.
I was waiting for you too, Tom. I was hoping to get some congratulations from you.
Mr. Wright, I would go.
You're sensible. You'd
I
be
would
like,
go to the wedding.
you'd be
Well,
like,
I know that I wouldn't have a choice.
could be. Yeah, you see, I knew that. You too under the thumb. You are, Tom.
Not under the thumb.
You are a little under the thumb.
I am a
You've
little
just
bit.
come across as under the thumb there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I just know which side my bread's buttered. That's all I'm saying. David Hunt, 80.
Do you want to know what I'd be? It is difficult with the not knowing.
Listen,
that is the problem.
If your wife turned around and said to you, "Look, Dan, you have to go. You have to go to the wedding," you would. That's what you'd have to do.
Yeah, but I'm the kind of guy who, on my wedding day, Villa were playing Chelsea at home, and I was still like a few weeks before thinking, what can I do to get myself to this game or get it on the TV?
And did you get it?
No, neither.
Exactly.
That's different though. It's not the playoff final. That's one league game. You can always miss the odd league game for things, but if we get to the playoff final and he can't go,
And it's not his wedding either.
and he's not been invited all day.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. I mean, if
I'd maybe be tempted to sacrifice the stag do at this point to appease the missus. That's what I'd do.
it depends how close a friend you are, really, doesn't
You're
it?
not that close if you're not going
Yeah,
all day.
that's true. Yeah, have you just been like? Is it a kind of a wishy-washy invite to the stag? Then sack the whole thing off.
I'd be tempted to sack the stag off at this, but I hope his friend doesn't listen to this. I don't think he will.
I think it's his missus's friend's wedding. That's and
No,
but
he said it was a schoolmate. His
Oh,
schoolmate.
right.
He said it was someone he's known since school, so he will have known him a long time.
the thing is, if you sack the stag,
This has really turned into the Jeremy Kyle show here.
oh, not really.
I couldn't think of another chat show. Kilroy.
If you sack the stag off and then we qualify automatically, then you look like a muppet, don't you?
I know, but I don't know. It's difficult because
I would go on.
I think he's got to sack the stag to get away with the wedding.
Go on the stag. Take a risk. Go on the stag. Be positive. RSVP yes to the wedding. And then if you have to cross that bridge, cross it later. And hopefully your missus won't remember and she's a good woman.
Well,
and
she's
it'll
not
be
going to
fine.
remember that he's gone to a stag do. I think she may remember that time.
Hopefully she's a good woman and she'll see the human side.
See,
of
I
it.
think once you've gone to the stag, that's it. Your card's marked. You have to go to the wedding once you've gone to the stag.
It's a tough decision. Only you can make it.
Let's get some comments in about this because it really is. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
I know what I'd do, as I say.
Yeah, in the
I'd
comments.
not be going to the wedding.
I would like it if the comments are dominated by this subject. That would be great.
I'd not go to the wedding for sure.
Really?
I'd RSVP, yes. But if Villa got to the playoff final,
So
I wouldn't be going to the wedding.
So you're
I'd be saying-
ruling yourself out of the stag
I'd
as
be
well?
saying plans have changed. I'd sacrifice the stag, yeah.
Presumably.
I'd take the hit.
The Leeds game is in April, isn't it? The 20th of April, something like that? Then presumably he's already booked whatever's happening for the stag.
Yeah, it depends what it is, though. Is
Or if it's abroad.
it abroad? We need more context, but yeah. Nothing would keep me away from the playoff final, is what I'm saying.
That's a very big question. I feel like every other question.
Because if it was my own wedding, I would have made sure it was never a point where that could have happened.
How far in advance did you book your wedding, though?
A couple of years.
Well, exactly. So we might
but
have
if
got
I'd known-
relegated, and you wouldn't have known.
Nah, we'd have been into that by then.
You wouldn't have known. That's
I'd look
rubbish.
at the big events before I could.
But it's
like
not
I say,
his
I
wedding.
could tolerate missing a league game. Like I knew there was a chance that was going to happen, and it happened. I was hoping it would get moved to the Sunday on my wedding, the Villa game, and it didn't. It got moved to tea time kick-off, which was arguably worse for me.
It's
Right in
anyway.
the middle of speeches.
Right. A great question, and hopefully we'll get lots of feedback on that. Let's go for a couple more quickly. David Hunt, we're obviously back to the football.
No, I'm bored of that. I can't stop thinking about this wedding.
We are obviously short of goals and creativity with Grealish and Adoma out. We need a short-term change until they're back. I think Sheffield Wednesday play three at the back, so I would go with Grabban and Hogan up front. What do you think about that?
We'll talk about it in the preview.
Yeah?
We'll encourage people to watch the preview
Yeah, that's true. Oh, what a tease.
because we're at an hour.
Are we?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, 20 minutes of that is wedding chat,
Yeah.
isn't it? All right, Jack Hurley then. One more. Do you think there's a reason Andre Green isn't playing? I've heard he has another hamstring issue, or is it just down to lack of fitness or something different?
He's injured. He's injured.
He's injured.
100% injured. Yeah.
That's it.
I don't know when he's back, but he's 100% injured. And even if he is fit again, this weekend. He hasn't played enough football to really be in contention.
Okay, we'll actually finish with this one because it's more light-hearted. George Fowler, do you think it's acceptable to turn up on an away day without a top-quality pair of trainers on? I saw a young lad, smartly dressed, but in a pair of Lonsdales at Fulham. Part of me died inside. I told you to throw away them Lonsdales.
I was going to say, did my dad sneak into Grabban Cottage without me knowing?
Sneakering.
Sneaker, oh nice, Tom. I don't really know what the dress code is. I mean, I wear my John Motson coat quite a lot, and that gets absolutely hammered.
Yeah, it does.
When I wear it,
because you combine it with the hat as well.
Yeah, I've not done that since. I've not done both since. I have to have my hair done now before the game for AVTV commitments.
Oh, yeah.
So I have to do my hair regardless.
Fair enough.
Now whatsoever. I don't know whether there's a dress code per se, but you don't look like a tramp. I mean, I wore my Villa shirt and trainers, Nike Air Max, on Saturday, and then I ended up in quite a nice hotel drinking, and I was thinking I'm never getting in here, and I did. So maybe it doesn't matter sometimes.
Well, fair enough. There you go. I mean, I wear what I want.
Do you?
And nobody tells me.
You chose that? I bet your wife puts out a new shirt for you every morning for you to wear.
I wish she did my ironing. I'm the only one that does ironing in the
Oh, really?
house. Yeah.
And Andrew's all mine.
Does she?
I've never ironed since me and Andrew have been together.
You got it all right.
7 years.
Right, should we call it a night?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I think we've definitely seen who wears the trousers in your relationship now.
I don't disagree with
Okay.
it.
Good times. You do the outro.
You've done it again.
You panicked last week. I want to see you do it again.
Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you comment, obviously, on the wedding situation, but also
Most importantly,
the other things that we've been talking about as well. Hourahan, the midfield debate, who you'd like to see at right back potentially. Twanzebe, does he start or does he get dropped back in for El Mohammadi at right back? You've got to subscribe with your post notifications on. You've got to comment. You've got to make reviews on iTunes as well.
Yeah.
You can't chip in if you're going to let me do
because you've
it.
already said about commenting.
Oh yeah, and reviews.
All right, carry on.
We're going to do a match preview straight after this, so look forward to that. It might be as rambly as this potentially was. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We love your questions. We love your comments. Stick with the channel. Stick with the Villa. Up the Villa.
2 out of 10 there. If you enjoyed that video, why not watch another? Click the video choices on screen now to go and watch them in full. Be sure to subscribe to the channel by clicking our logo there on the left. Easy peasy.